Indian style.
Hi guys! It is Julia
and Kitty Cat, and today we have a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself, Miss?
Hello, I'm Vixen DeVille. How's you all doing?
Yeah, excellent. Vixen, tell us about you. What is your sexy wheelhouse, so to speak?
Tell you about my sexy wheelhouse. So I started performing burlesque in 2005. That's 15 years ago. Where is my life gone? And I started going into it terrified of, not terrified of being sexual, but terrified of sort of drawing attention to the fact that I wanted to be sexual. And then burlesque has blown up and become my life. And now I pass it on in classes. And so I now teach people who sort of are drawn to burlesque or want to access that side of themselves, want to explore that side of themselves. And I work them through a whole course and get them on stage so they can free themselves as their burlesque characters on stage as well.
Awesome. And you're a cirque performer. So
I
got into that. Tricks.
Yeah. So I got into that a bit. I call it later in life. I mean, now I'm getting older. I'm like, I was a child. But I got into that because I got into the burlesque world. I was sort of really interested in using other skills on stage rather than just being a singer or a dancer. I started in that world, started seeing other cabaret performers and variety performers, and coming from a theatrical background and loving sort of magic on stage, making things happen live on stage. Like, how can you make it snow on stage? How can you make people disappear on stage? Like, having it really happen in front of people. I loved how other performers were bringing in these other skills to sort of supplement the burlesque act. So I first got into fire. I guess that was my first or second year performing, like 2006, 2007. And it was always, I would see someone doing it and be like, that's cool, I want to do it too. So I'd always be seeing people going, oh, I want to do that. Oh, I want to do that. Oh, I want to do that. So I started aerial lyra. I saw someone in aerial lyra. I was like, I want to do that. And I wasn't allowed to. I had to start off with trapeze for some reason. It was like the program that it was like, trapeze is easier than lyra, and some places would teach you lyra, and it was so I had to go through all the disciplines to get to lyra, but I was like, I'm gonna get on that hoop, you know. So I must have been like late 20s, and I think it's hilarious when people see me performing and they're like, oh, well, you're obviously athletic and you must have started doing that when you were like 12, 13. It's like, nah, I was not sporty at school. Like, I hated sports. I was I was terrible at it. I was not an athletic person. But yeah, I just had this, like, I just loved how it looked and loved how these people seemed like so free on this equipment. And when I got into it, it was a really nice way of becoming athletic, because swimming laps in a pool, running up and down a hill, like, it just doesn't interest me. But learning these new skills and kind of going, oh, I just have to hold 3 seconds longer to make this move look possible. It sort of pushes you into getting your strength up, getting your flexibility up. So yeah, fire, aerial, glass walking. I don't know. I don't do juggling because I can't. But yeah, there's my little variety skill list.
For those who haven't seen Vixen, one of my favorite acts she does, she burns a corset off her body.
Yeah, we have it on our channel.
We do
actually. Yes. Yeah. At Don the Beachcomber, right? Isn't that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think that's a venue anymore.
No,
I think it went out of business.
It's not, and it was like such an amazing venue. It was like Disneyland almost in terms of like.
Yeah, and it always felt really full when I was in there.
Yeah,
it was so cute. You entered and it was like, like you say, Disneyland. It was like sort of entering the Pirates of the Caribbean ride or something. Like
with the tiki room. My sister and I were big fans of the tiki room, so I always think of it as the tiki room.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad. So sad.
But you can revisit it online on our channel. You can see it in its glory. It's now preserved.
Yeah, so cool. When I was researching fire, because I was like, oh, someone had said, oh, you can do this thing where you like run the fire along your skin, or you can do it on someone else, and you can do like a duet thing, and then you can learn to eat fire. And so I was researching sort of fire acts online, and I think this one girl, like, I think she melted like a strap or something. She did something where I was like, oh, if I could burn the clothes off me, that would be so great. Not only because it would look cool, but it'll distract from the fact I have only 3 tricks under my belt because I'd literally just
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
I was like, I'm the shittest fire performer, but I'm the only one that burns a dress off themselves. So it's great.
It's a super unique act. And I know you've like rented it out to friends and taught it to some of our friends to use for things. And it's because it's so unique. It's not even like you can recreate it and not be like, you're obviously knocking Vixen off. Right.
Yeah, I had it designed and I contacted, I was looking online. I found this like, she was like a bridal leather. So she would make wedding dresses out of leather. And I was like, because I was like, I could make this myself. I was like, actually, I probably really couldn't. I can make the other bits, but let's have the really dangerous costume made by a professional. And so I found her online and I sort of drew this little drawing and said, this is what I want it to do. And so she sent me one in just like a cotton to sort of fit it on me. And I sent it back to her, but I needed it for this show because we were opening on the West End, and I was like, I need it for this big show because it's like I can't go on the West End stage and be like, look, I can eat fire very smallly. Whereas I go on stage like, look, I can burn a dress off me. Whoa! So she's like, well, I can, but I'll have to charge you double because it's such a small amount of time. And at the time I was like, I'm not paying that much money more. But now it's like, 15 years later and I'm still using it and renting it out. And it's totally made its money back.
I think that's true with a lot of the big props that we don't want to invest money in is that once you invest the money in them, they end up being the thing that earns you the most. I'm in the process now of debating on getting a giant martini glass. And even though I know how much those can rent out for, even though I know I could rent it out for like $2,000 a night here in Vegas, I'm still debating it. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, just
and the other thing is, Julia, is when I first met you, because by the way, all the podcast listeners, Julia, Vixen, and I were all in a burlesque troupe together, which was the Dollface Dames in Los Angeles, and that's where we met. But like pretty much since I met you, which I believe is like 6 years ago at this point, you've been talking about buying a martini,
right? So I should just do it.
It's like the first entrepreneurial thing that you talked about buying, where you're like, I should buy this because I can make money. Because Julia is like very entrepreneurial focused, and she's always looking to make money. She's the reason why I get to do corporate events every once in a while, because like I would have never gotten to the corporate event world if it wasn't for Julia. So but you go buy your you buy your martini glass and I'll rhinestone it.
Yeah.
How was your duck? Did you finish rhinestoning the massive big ducky?
I haven't done. I did a dinosaur. Is that what you're thinking of?
I felt like you started doing a duck, or I know that you mentioned the dinosaur, but I thought you started a duck, or you were going to do a duck, or something.
So it's not a duck. What I want to do is, I want to build a giant Pac-Man and ghosts. Because you could, when we get back to corporate events, you could rent them out to all the tech companies that love Pac-Man.
Yeah.
And I love Pac-Man, and I'm a nerd, so I understand that. But like, and I actually want it to, it would be awesome in a Burning Man style way.
I was just thinking.
Ride it, because you're a burner, correct, Vixen? Yeah, you've been. So like, the Pac-Man, the art cars and the ghosts, and they chase each other. Yes. Yeah. So it's like that, except
actually, I have seen that one.
Yeah, except in rhinestone version.
Oh, perfect.
Right.
Everything like the creative world is like, I want to see if this is possible. Like you get this thing in your head and you're like, wouldn't it be so cool if? And everyone else kind of goes, oh, that's a lot of work. Oh, I don't know if that's possible. Yeah. And it's not about because it'll make me money or because it'll get me more gigs. It's because you have this insane idea in your head and you're like, this will look amazing if it's possible. And I was saying to my friend, it's like the Egyptian pyramids. They took a long time to make. Like if someone had the idea, like maybe if we just, I just feel like, and then it's that amazing moment when you show that thing on stage or to an audience and they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. And you're like, I know. That's what I spent my time and money on, was doing that.
I have the best example of that, in my opinion, which is that you know, I rhinestone this dinosaur just because I walked into Home Depot and I saw it and I was like, I really want to rhinestone it. And then I spent about 800 to 900 hours of my life rhinestoning it. And, you know, and then I started taking it to art festivals. And the first gig where I was actually paid to rent out the dinosaur, somebody had seen it at an art festival and at the Cannabis Cup. And I said, the thing about the dinosaur is that like some people get it and some people just don't. And you know, and this was somebody who we did a significant trade for the dinosaur for something else, and she's like, I don't want to hang out with those people.
Exactly.
She's like, they're not the fun people.
That dinosaur is like your 6 foot repellent. It's like either if you get past the dinosaur, you can be my friend. If you don't like the dinosaur, I've weeded you out.
Just leave.
So Vixen, you have some. I guess you have like kind of an odd sense of humor, I'd say, with some of your acts. Most recently, you've been like really diving into this pig act. Can you explain that to people?
So the pig act started off as a joke in my head. Like I can't remember if I think I heard the song first, and that's what started it off. I like listening to songs and reinterpreting them sort of away from what they're actually about, and kind of listening to the lyrics and thinking, if you take the literal sense of the lyrics, what does this mean? So like I have a Christmas act to All I Want for Christmas Is You, but I found it in the minor key. And I was like, oh, it's totally like as if a stalker was talking, like, all I want for Christmas is you. You know? And then I was listening to, well, the song that I started off with, the pig act, the one I videoed for quarantine isn't to the same song, but the idea came from, I was listening to All of Me. My roommate who used to play piano, well, he still plays piano, he's no longer my roommate. My roommate who played piano was playing All of Me, and he's like, oh, listen to this song. It's so amazing because they're so in love. Like, all of me, da, 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 take all of me. I was like, play it real slow and in minor key and listen to the lyrics. And it's like, oh, all of me. Why not take all of me? You broke my heart. Like, fuck you. Take the rest of me, because I am no longer a human being because you've messed with me. So it's so angry. Like, you know, how annoyed that person is. Like, listen to those lyrics. And so I love taking, and then my Come Together act, Come Together Over Me. It's like when people are all like coming on me. And so I love taking that and having that witty, I hand out party poppers that are all white. And they all pull it on me.
And she's wearing like pearls. So it's like the pearl necklace.
But the funny thing is, you could probably like sell that to a corporate and they wouldn't get the joke.
I had,
you know, like, because if you do it classy, right? Because it's a classy act. Like,
I don't go down to pasties because I'm covered in all the pearls. It was one of my acts, so I don't go down to pasties. And it is Come Together Right Now Over Me. It's a gangbang song. That's the whole point of the act. Someone has watched me perform that for 5 years and was like, oh, because I did it and I went into hosting. I was like, by the way, guys, in case you didn't get what that act's about. And then someone in the room was like, I've watched you do that 5 years and I never knew what that was about. I was like, yay.
I have to admit, I think I've seen you do this act and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
So
really? Yeah, I started doing it with Tanya, so yeah. But the pig act, so I don't know if I'd seen a pole dancer or what. Anyway, I listened to the song All of Me, and I just imagined this pig like on a spit roast just turning and real like musical box, like all of me, why not eat all of me? And it's like, oh, well, if you're gonna eat my piggy chops, why not eat my feet as well? Why not eat my piggy ears? If you're gonna eat some of me, eat all of me. Come on. And it kind of reminded me of, it's all like a lot of things influence you at one time. In Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the recent TV, well, not the recent, but the most recent TV show they did, at the end when they come to the restaurant at the end of the world, there's this pig cow thing where its sole purpose has been, it's been created in order to be eaten. So if you don't eat it, you're actually offending him. And he's lying on the platter going, come on, have a rib. Just go on. Oh, but that's and it's like, it's my sole purpose. I want to meet my destiny. Right. And so I just thought, and I thought if I ever do stand up, this would be a hilarious act to describe, that I'm just like, I imagine me tied to one of those poles that spins. And I thought I'll just be on the pole and like little spotlight, you know, and it's so like, do, 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 do. And I'd start off by like singing All of Me, Why Not Take All of Me? And then it would turn into like a tap dance song, and I would strip the piggy, and that would be the reason for the strip. I'm a very huge believer in the reason for the strip. And I would just strip this pig outfit off me and end up as just this like bloody skeleton. And I just thought it was the most hilarious idea. But I thought, well, I'd need to get a pole, and I can't pole dance, so I wouldn't make money out of that. I need to get a pole and somehow tie myself to it. And how would I do the pig outfit? And how would I do... I was just like, it just wasn't possible unless you were to animate it or do it as a music video. It was so beyond my like capabilities. And then we saw, me and my boyfriend, we saw, those poles that hang, that look like silks. And we're like, oh, you could just be tied to that. And then you don't need the pole to be upright. You could, and I suddenly thought, oh, and I think I saw a spinner, those things people spin on to get like their abs going. And I was like, I could just make a grill and have them on the spinner. And he's like, I think your act is actually possible. And at the time I was doing my elephant act, and I was looking for elephant costumes, and up came this pig costume. I was like, I'm just going to buy it just so it's in my house. I can look at it from time to time, figure out if it's possible. Like, and then I was like, I just was so like the smiliness that's happening right now. This is how I was getting like when I kept thinking about it. And I was like, I won't tell anyone I'm doing it because I won't have a deadline. I'm just going to like have it rolling. And about 9 months later, I saw, I forget her performance name, Megan Elise. Shit, I can't remember her performance name. Anyway, Foodies and Boobies. It's gone from me. Megan.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Why have I not got her performance name?
I'm not super familiar. I don't think I've.
She's amazing. I fucking love the woman. She's brilliant. But she kept coming to shows and going, I want you in my show. I want you in my show. I was like, I don't have any food related acts. And I was like, because that whole thing about investing in something, unless you've got the reason to, I was like, I've got to get a pig costume. I've got to rip it apart. And then if I rip it apart wrong, I'm going to have to buy a new one. That's terrifying. I'm going to have to put all these snaps on it. I'm going to have to make a grill somehow. I'm going to have to get some underlayer bloody skeleton. It's an endeavor. And if I don't have a date that someone's going to perform it at, then what? So I said to her, I was like, oh, I had this idea, and I just told her it, and she's like, Kat, when you said pig costume, I just didn't care. I'm like, yes. So she put me in a Thanksgiving show last year, and I was like, oh, no, I need to do this now. And I had like 2 months to get it together. But it just makes me so happy because it's so ridiculous. And I say to my students, like, your burlesque should be what's missing from your life. And when I first started, all my characters were these powerful, femme fatale, Maleficent, Snow Queen, Fire Demon, like powerful characters. Because in my life, I was very sort of a yes person. I wasn't really confident in my own opinions or my own like tastes, or I would try and fit in all the time and go, well, how am I supposed to think, and what am I supposed to wear, and do. And so I just wanted to go on stage and feel powerful and in control and not giving a shit. And so when that kind of got out my system, I then went into, well, I just want to feel expensive, which is what the Come Together one was. Just, I want to descend a staircase covered in jewels, but then it was with the comedy thing afterwards. And then I went through a phase of, I don't want to be pretty and sexual. I want to take revenge and be gory and scary almost on stage. So I had my werewolf and my vampire and all this blood covered ones. And now I've just got the point where I just want to have really fun and just like fuck with the audience a little bit. And now I'm doing my elephant outfit act and my pig act and all these ridiculous ideas that are just like, well, now I've kind of got the freedom to just do them because it's me just having fun on stage, you know?
Yeah.
And go ahead. And for your burlesque classes, can you talk a little bit more about how you started doing those and what those classes are? Because you also have an online curriculum, right?
Yes. Yeah. So the way it started was I had to teach. I didn't have to. I was asked to, and I did because I wanted to. I don't have to do anything. I was asked to teach an intro class for someone. I knew them in London, and then they're out here when I first moved out. And she was like, oh, it's fine. She gave me kind of rundown of what the curriculum was. And it was like, you know, at the end, just give them all the feather boa, teach them this choreography, and that'll be the class. And I was like, I don't want to be in that class, and I don't want to teach that class because it terrifies me, because my background isn't dancing. My background is acting and theater creation. And I was like, who am I to go in front of a group of people and teach them some choreography, like as if I know what I'm doing? And half of the people in the room might be better than that, and half the people in the room might not have any, like, I remember being in dance classes where I can't keep up with the other people in the room, and some of us are just like, well, I don't know, and some of us like, this is far too easy. And that to me wasn't my version of burlesque. And I think that when you learn from a teacher, you forget that you're learning that person's version, in terms of, like, when you see a play, you're seeing Olivia's Hamlet. You're not seeing just that this is Hamlet, but this is how this person plays Hamlet. This is how this person plays Hamlet. This is how this person teaches you burlesque. It's my version of burlesque. So I thought, I don't have to do the company's version of burlesque, because essentially they've got Vixen DeVille as their, like, guest teacher. So this is what Vixen DeVille thinks burlesque is. And so I went into that class, and I decided, well, where did I get my skill from? What excites me about burlesque? Because what excites me about burlesque is not learning a piece of group choreography and then stressing the whole time that you're not in time with all the other women. What excites me about burlesque is this making things come to life that just excites you. Like, I can just bring a pig on stage and strip the skin off. I can go on stage and feel powerful and sexy. I can go on stage and make the audience scared of me. And it's the fact that you can take the thing you want to have in your real life, or that you've lost in your life. Maybe you used to be a certain kind of person, and just you've grown up, or you've made different life choices. And to have that stage space where it's your playground, essentially, that's what excites me about burlesque. And I wanted to pass that on to other people, especially as people will watch a burlesque show, and they will definitely, I hear all the time, like, oh, I really want to be on stage. You look so confident. You look so powerful. You look so sexy. You look so beautiful. You look so, not me, but the people in the show look so whatever. And they want that so badly, but they then give themselves all of the reasons why they can't do it. Just like I gave myself all the reasons why I couldn't do it. So I don't want anyone to come in my class who has that feeling, but says, I can't do it because I'm not flexible enough. I don't have the skills. I don't have the dance. I don't have the, you can do burlesque sat on a chair, fanning yourself. Like, I've worked with people who were just either disabled or they just didn't have the, they were like out of breath the whole time. And I was like, you don't have to be doing high kicks and drop splits to do burlesque. You do you. That's what burlesque is you showing you, expressing yourself in a confident manner. And that's what I want in my classes to be, rather than just, here's a dance routine that I came up with that I'm amazing at performing, and see if you can learn it, sort of thing. Not to say that's what other classes are, but that's my imagination of what other classes are like.
I love it. It's so, I think that one of the things that people don't realize about burlesque is that, like, it's an embodiment of power, however you want to utilize it, as you get more and more comfortable with your body. I find, like, the first time, I auditioned for the Dames, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And we had to go see a show. And I was like, this is awesome. This is amazing. I'm going to do this. It has all these cool things in it. Like, I love dancing. I love doing, like, circus arts. Yeah. And then the next day I tried to talk myself out of it like crazy.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh shit, now I have to do it.
Yeah.
Now I have to do it.
Well, I remember going to the Dollface Dames audition, and I'd come over I need to just plug my laptop in because I'm terrible and I didn't plug it in.
No, you're fine.
You're a bad girl.
Video. It's totally fine. Yeah. No, I didn't even have that response when I first auditioned for I guess I didn't even view it as burlesque. I just moved to Hollywood and wanted a job so bad that I was like, it's a job. Like, this is cool. It's a job. I sing, I dance, whatever. And then through doing burlesque, I grew to appreciate burlesque. But yeah, it definitely was like, for me, I was like, it's work. They're going to pay me. Like, this sounds great.
and you started off as a singer. So, like, they fast tracked you. So you were like, you got in and you were like singing like every show right off the bat.
Yeah, she must have been desperate. Didn't have a lot of singers. I don't know.
I mean, Julia, you are such a fun singer to watch. You get like very twangy, and you do like, you are definitely a personality singer. But that's like, there's so many different types of singers, and like personality singers, in my opinion, are like the best. Like, look at fucking Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan doesn't actually sing; he just like rambles, kind of. But he's considered one.
Like, you can see people who are technically doing the dance amazing, but if they're not connected to what they're doing, they're not connected with the audience, they're not even having fun doing it, then it's just me watching someone who's very technically skilled.
Right.
Yeah, when I came here, I auditioned with Dolphin Dames. I've been performing in London in a troupe, so I've been doing group dances and stuff, but I still had it in my head that I wasn't a dancer. Wasn't a dancer. And so I saw the audition. I was like, well, I can host for surezies. I'll bring all my hosting stuff and I'll audition with my glass walking because it's different. And she's like, well, do you want to audition for the troupe as well? And I thought, I don't, because I don't know what their level is. And that's what's terrifying, is that you could talk yourself out of doing it and you could be an amazing dancer, but you go, well, I'm sure that their standards are a lot higher than that. And I think their standards has changed when we first started. I remember doing
Julia says the same thing. She's like, they look.
It was little like boop a doo, and I was doing the dances, you know, boop a doo, and then they got a few more people in who are way amazing dancers. I was like, I am so glad I'm not in the group numbers now because they're terrifying bad, like terrifying.
So if people want to check out your burlesque classes, but you also have like fire eating videos and glass walking videos, where can they do that?
So if you go to vixendeville.com, there's a little link that says online classes, and just click that and there's a whole list. There's like, if you just want a little instructional video on glove and stocking removal just to kind of test it out. If you want to do an intro class, I'm doing those online now. So that's actually with me in real time. It's a group class that happens. So the instructional video is for this glove and stocking. You just watch it in your own time and you can just see, it's not, you don't have to be with anybody. It's not scary. And then the intro class is like actually being in the room with me, which is not scary either. And then the whole course is a mixture of, there's basically a workbook that takes you through the whole thing. So it's like reading an instructional book. Like you read it as you want to. It's set out as week by week, but you don't have to do it week by week. You just do it in your own time. And so the first week you watch this video, and then the second week you listen to this MP3, and then you do this work and you just work. And then the fourth week you book in a session with me, and then I work with you with the bits that you've done. And so it's a mixture of in-person sessions and work at home. And yeah, you just go through it in your own. Some people skip through it in like 2 months because they just are like on it. Some people take a year because they want to let it marinate. So yeah, it's really great to be working with people from like all over the world. It's been amazing.
Have you had an uptick in that since COVID?
Yes,
yes.
Because people now know what Zoom is. Before, people like, I'm not sure about this online class. I don't know what Zoom is. That's too technical for me. And then everyone like had to. So now everyone understands what I mean. But like, I think before people weren't really sure about how
I think it was, I mean, like I would, like if I temp in an office, they'd talk about Zoom, but like I didn't know any normal person who was talking about Zoom.
Yeah. And it felt more like, I'll Skype you, like I'll Google you, it's like Skype was like the verb for an online class or online event, And now it's like, oh, I'll Zoom you. And people weren't using Zoom as the verb for whatever it is. But for sure, like, I got a lot of interest because my intro class, I took that online with Airbnb experiences. So Airbnb were doing experiences and I was teaching fire as the experience for LA. And so they called me up and said, well, we can't do fire in person anymore. Do you have any online classes you could do? I was like, well, I could do fire online, but it's like, yeah, does everyone have a space where they can, if people are going to set fires themselves if I'm not in the room with them? They were a bit scared to do that. So I was like, well, I can do my, like, no, Airbnb doesn't have that much insurance. I promoted the intro class to them and they fast-tracked it. They got that together so quickly. They picked their sort of top 50 people like worldwide. And then the day after we wrote up a prospectus for it. And like the day after they're like, right, we need to do a practice run. And I did a practice run with like 8 people from Airbnb and they all kind of like tallied it up and reviewed it. And it got online like 2 days later. It was they wanted it up and running as soon as possible. And that's been great. I had, because it's anywhere in any of the world. So I had a class of like 9 people. I had a couple from India at like midnight who were celebrating their wedding. And it was just their like post-wedding fun time. I had a woman from, I can't remember where she was from, but it was primarily like a Muslim country. And she's like, I couldn't get this training in this country. Like, this is really like, oh, I shouldn't be doing
naughty.
Very naughty.
Yeah, so I had a couple of people from Berlin, a couple of people from Australia, and it was like amazing to be able to provide this sort of experience in the fullest sense of its word, in class and teaching to people who couldn't get it where they were, even if things were open, you know?
Vixen, I have to say, I feel like your life is just so joyful. Like, you just look like you're having so much fun all the time, you know?
Yes.
like everything. It's like you're like a little kid. So you're like, oh, how am I going to do this costume? And like, let me try it this way and that way and that way and that way. And then, you know, let me like try this online experience.
I will say, having known Vixen for, 7 years now, that since she's met her partner, he's been great at releasing this like fun side, because he supports that in you, your weirdness.
I think also it's like he's given me the space, because somebody else said that, and was it him? I think my mom was like, well, that's offensive. You've done this yourself. Someone said you've grown since meeting him. I think my living situation changed. So I wasn't sharing my space with 2 or 3 other roommates. I was sharing my space with my boyfriend, who gives me a lot of leeway. Like a mess. I have a lot more space since my other roommate moved out. Like I moved into this apartment, sharing it with 3 people, sharing it with 2 other people, and then someone brought their boyfriend. So that was 3 other people. So I literally had the space in my bedroom and my one closet. And then when one of the roommates moved out, I was like, I'm going to pay extra money to keep that room open, and that's going to be my room. And it's like we're saying about buying that fire dress, buying the martini glass. If I'd been like, no, I need to cut back, I don't know what my income is, I was like, no, I'm going to make that investment. So now I could move all my costume into this room. It meant I didn't have to worry about buying bigger things, because where the hell am I going to store them in this room? It then meant when Airbnb contacted me and said, can you do experiences in person? I had a room to do it in. And just the more that you expand, the more you're able to do more things rather than cutting down. And so when Rue moved in, it meant that the other spare room, I was like, costume room, that's going to be my office and costume room. And so now I have, like, the amount of fabric I had when I first started out was like 3 boxes. I've got a room full of fabric and trims and my sewing machine and whatevs. So if I do want to make a big pig costume, I just lay it all out and then it can sit there for a while. So I'm so, I don't want to say lucky, because a lot of those were really huge leaps of faith that I took. And if it didn't work out, I'd be so screwed. But I am so very privileged and I'm so thankful and appreciative that I now have a living situation that allows me to do all of those things, you know? I have space, and I have the time, and I have someone who doesn't think I'm crazy for doing all the weird stuff. And I have the guy who will help me when I'll be like, I've got this act and I don't know what music would start. He goes, oh, I know this this music. You should totally do that. And I'm like, thank you.
Remind me, is he a performer too, or he's creative?
He's so he's a burner as well. So he likes projects more in the sort of, let's make a solar paneled swamp cooler, and like he's a Home Depot type of person, you know. And he does fire whip and stuff, but he's not a fire performer. So he's like the most normal. He has a 9-to-5 job in IT. Like he's the antithesis of my life, which is great, because I spent so long dating performers and creatives and writers and directors and magicians and all these. Like, I thought, oh, they're gonna, we're gonna feed each other's creative vibe. But then when they're not doing so well, there's an animosity, and it's like, if I'm doing well, I have to apologize for it, and if he's doing well, I still go, oh, he's doing well. But because he's nothing to do with my career or my industry, it means he can see it from an objective point of view, and he doesn't get involved in it. Like, he doesn't have, well, when I was doing it, here's my opinion. Like, he doesn't have to have an opinion. It's someone, I did another podcast where they were like, only one headshot per couple. And I was like, yes, that is.
That's true. You guys are supposed to get married and then COVID hit, right?
Yeah, May 28th. Yeah, May 28th.
She had to turn down. The only reason I know this is she had to turn down a corporate gig that obviously didn't happen because she was supposed to be on her honeymoon.
Yeah, we were gonna have fire performers at all. He was like, the one thing I want at the wedding is fire performers. So we went to all these venues and we were like, yeah. Can we have open flame at the wedding? Nope. Okay, bye. That was like
What venue were you going to use? What is the fire?
Oh, so if you want fire at your wedding, hire me.
Yes.
At Lake Oak Meadows, because they have big fire pits and stuff, and they have in the lake that you get married in front of, they time it so when you do your like I do kiss, all these like waterfalls happen, like not like fountains. And then at night they turn into fire fountains, and so they had fire, and then they have this big deck that comes out into the lake. So we're like, we can have the fire performers on the deck so surrounded by the lake, kind of thing.
Where is that?
In Temecula, like Bishop here. Yeah, it's like wine country sort of place.
Well, later days.
Next year.
I will say that I was on an article probably a couple days ago, which was like all the celebrities that had to postpone their weddings because of COVID. I was like, poor Katy Perry. She can't get married to the guy from The Lord of the Rings yet.
Oh, hilarious. Yeah, my friend was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, to be fair, we lived together already. Like we've there is, I don't want kids. So it's not like I'm like, oh shit, I have to wait another year for kids. Like we're already effectively married. We wanted to have a celebration where we sort of proclaimed that to our friends and had a big old party. That was the point of it. So I don't really want to go to a courthouse and be like, yeah, we're married, because we sort of blatantly are. We wanted the party. That was the whole point of it.
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the things about us creative types is we throw a fucking good party. Yeah. And like, we want the party because it's like, we're so good at it.
I was having a full-on dress made by Lola Minx and shit, and like I made him a waistcoat. Like I'd already made it for him, and I was not sure about my skills at the time, but it came out pretty cool. And so yeah, it was all like I was making all the costume. I kept calling it costume.
I have to say I actually have a question with it, which is did you design it thinking maybe you could dye it and use it as a burlesque costume?
No, I'm getting married in red. That was already okay. Yeah, we were like, because he was like, my favorite color is red, and I was like, I don't really. I know I tried on a few wedding dresses that were white, and I was just like, I'm kind of over it. And I did want something because in line with what you said, I did want something that I could wear again at some point. So I was like, if I get this red, it means I can blatantly host in it later on.
And be like, this is my wedding dress. Clearly not a virgin, bitches.
and I believe technically you could write that wedding dress off too then.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Right? I mean, like how many people can write their wedding dresses off?
But we are not tax professionals, so please.
We are not. No, absolutely not.
Yeah, let's not state it live on this show.
I mean, but let's be serious. I am sure somebody in the United States has written off their wedding dress, whether or not they write wedding articles or, like, there's got to be someone in the wedding industry who has that opportunity.
If you if you sort of do one modeling job, I know, or something like that. I used to model wedding dresses. So it made me crazy going to try on wedding dresses because I do my own costume and because I know how long it takes to do certain things and how much a fabric costs and whatever. So I modeled wedding dresses actually right after I'd broken up with a boyfriend when I was like 23 or something. And it was the best thing. I love dresses. I'm such a girl in that sense. I love trying on the dresses and being all pretty and whatever. So I did some photography modeling. I did some catwalk modeling or runway modeling. So I've had my fair share of wearing wedding dresses, but I put on this wedding dress and it was the plainest thing you've ever seen, like basic box standard dress. She's like, yes, this is like $200. It's like whatever, silk and blah, blah. And I'm looking at it going, bitch, this ain't worth fucking 50 quid. Like, I'll make this for $50. Easy. And she's like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. I was like, no, I'm not. This is horrendous. This is horrible. Get me something better. Like, I tried to make my own because I was just like, have it designed and stuff, because I was just like, I was so upset with the terrible dresses over here. I was like, don't you know who I am? I'm Vixen fucking DeVille.
If I'm getting married, it's gonna be
I won't wear shit than this on the fucking Magic Obelisk stage. Get out of my head.
You're like, bitch, I burn off a corset.
Right. I spent more than that on a leather dress. I was thinking wear twice. Get off me. Yeah, no. I just hate how they like I understand if you're not a performer and you're not a burlesque performer and wearing all this beautiful, sparkly stuff all the time, that your wedding day is like, my dress is my best thing. I've never been to try on a dress before, and I understand it's the experience. If you go there,
it's like the prom.
Yeah, it's like the ritual of it. And I loved it. When I worked as the wedding dress model, I would go to the event and I would model all the dresses. And then the second half, I would come and I would help people like try them on. And it was my favorite thing, because I was like Barbie doll dressing. And it was just like doing a burlesque class where you say, you know, people realize, oh my God, I am pretty, I am sexy. And you give them that joy. Putting people into wedding dresses and having them see themselves and go, oh, this is the one. It was like my favorite thing. But I was never like, oh, you look so gorgeous. Like, even if they didn't, it was just like, I was like, if this is not the one, let's find the one. Let's just make this happen. Like, I love dressing people up. And that used to be part of my Airbnb experience. When we had the show nearby, they would come here. I dress them all up in costume, and they do selfies and stuff. And then we go at the show. And it's my favorite thing to share my costume with people and have them like, oh, I've never worn thigh-high boots before, or I've never worn like a cage bra before. I've never put wings on me before, because I have such joy wearing these clothes. And like, when I remember my first time putting thigh-high boots on and feeling I could take over the world, and I love giving that feeling to the people, because it's just, it's like such an exciting moment, you know?
Well, we all loved make-believe at one point.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people drop it. And like, you know, the ones that keep on to it usually end up being performers in some way.
Yeah. Because when else are you ever gonna like, you're not gonna try a pair of thigh boots on, because if you're, you know, you've got a kid and you've just, you know, you walk just to work, you're not going to walk to your corporate job in your thigh-high boots and then take your kids.
You should. You
should. But it's like, oh, when will I wear this? But
yeah, I mean,
it's a joy.
I feel like one of the things that I loved about burlesque when I first got into it was I was amazed, because the Dollface Dames, we did a show that was 2 to 3 acts, and you would do each act. And like, a lot of times people would be like one personality in one act and another personality in another act. And to me, that was the fun, getting to explore all these aspects of your personality.
I know when I first started, I had this idea for a comedy act, and I was like, oh, but Vixen DeVille can't do comedy, because I was very much like, I'm an actor playing a role when I first started. And I was like, Vixen DeVille is this hoity-toity, like vampirous character. She's got this high opinion of herself. She's very serious, very powerful, and she can't like make fun of herself. She can't like do a comedy act. That's not on brand for her. And the more, I remember someone in England saying, oh, I love your hosting, but I feel like you should just let go a bit more. And I thought, what the fuck does that mean? Let go a bit more, be a bit more me. And when I moved to America, I could chill back a bit, because the character was so much more like, because she's British, you know, and in England, I was doing this heightened voice to make her this, oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am Vixen DeVille, ha ha. And I came to America, I didn't have to do that anymore, because I already had the accent. So I could just chill back and be like, hey, all right, hi, bitches, how you doing? And I have so much more fun being Vixen DeVille in the sort of laughing at myself, self-deprecating, like, whatevs sort of thing. It's because it's just so much more relaxing. But I do love when I do a show and I'm like, fire demon, sexual bitch. And then the second half, I'm like, hello, an elephant. It's really fun to do both.
I've been in the audience multiple times where people are convinced your accent is fake because we're at Britannia. And people are like, he's faking it. She's faking it. And I'm like, no, I would tell you if she was. She's not faking it.
I literally, for like the first 6 months we were doing shows at Trip, I thought you were doing an act. Yeah. Because I couldn't tell. And I think at that time you were also trying to work on your American accent for auditions.
Yeah.
So like every once in a while there'd be like one word that was like American, and
Yeah.
I'm like, is she? I can't tell. You know, it's like when you know someone that's definitely from Australia, like Chris. You know, like anytime like somebody like Chris Helmsworth is doing it, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna catch him. I'm gonna get to I'm gonna find out where I know he's faking it.
I think because I was when I first came here, I was still doing this sort of heightened, because my accent is not very straight English British. It's so mongrel right now, and I will slip in and out of different. I'll slip into a Cockney, I'll slip into a Geordie, I'll slip into various versions of British. Plus, I'll have a bit of American in there too. And so I was trying to keep it like this is British and this is Vixen DeVille's voice when I go on stage. And because you're presenting, you're trying to be a bit more well spoken and enunciate better. And I'd come off stage, and not only would I then drop that, but there's a lot of American words that just a lazier way of saying it. And when you're talking to someone in a bar really loudly, and you're asking for water, you don't go, oh, can I have some water, please? You go, can I have some water? Like you want to like really shout out loud. And so I would actually go more American off stage. And some people would come to go, I knew it was fake. I knew you had a fake accent. I was like, oh no, this is just I'm chatting in a loud bar voice. Like
you're like, this is my lazy voice.
This is my lazy voice because I don't have to enunciate every single syllable, and because the people behind the bar don't know what I'm asking for. If I ask them for a fucking water, they need me to say water so that they can hear me over the noise. And yeah, it's so funny. And then living with an American, because I used to live with a British person and an American person, so it would go in and out. And now I live with Rue, it's like everything's just, yeah. My friends called me from uni the other day, and they're like, "You're so American." I was like, "You know what? I've lived here for like 8 years. It happens.
Happens. It's okay.
I'm so sorry. I've not lost my roots. It's just I've been living around. If I had gone to France for 8 years and was suddenly fluent in French, they'd go, "Wow, you're fluent in French." But now that I'm fluent in American, that's not so impressive.
It's less impressive.
Especially these days. These days.
It's like I have to prove myself somehow, like, oh, it's not American.
Vixen, if our audience wants to find you on social media, where can they do that?
On social media, I am on Instagram at Vixen DeVille. I am on Twitter at Vixen DeVille _ because someone stole it before me.
Assholes.
And then on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Vix DeVille. No, it's not Vixen, it's Vix DeVille.
Vix DeVille.
Vix
DeVille.
VIX. VIX DeVille.
Well, I'm so glad we got to talk to you today. I miss seeing your pretty face.
I know. Like the old days. I feel like we all went through having childbirth together, and now we're all teenagers and we don't get to see each other anymore.
I know. Maybe we'll be able to hug again soon. I don't know when that's going to be allowed again, but
someday.
Wear like a plastic sheeting and we'll just hug.
We'll just hug.
I'll do a hazmat suit act and we'll just hug.
So I'm actually in California right now because I came out to visit my mom, and I flew, and when I walked through the security, I set it off in some way. So they had to give me a pat down, and this woman's giving me a pat down. And I told her, like, sometimes I say funny things when like I'm in awkward situations. Not that I've done a million pat downs, so I don't understand. But I was like, I'm like, you're the first person other than my dad to touch me in 4 months because I've been living with my dad.
I would totally have said that. That's absolutely fine. That's allowed because it's fucking hilarious.
I was telling my friend yesterday, I'm like, not that it was sexual, but I leaned into it a little bit when she was feeling me up because I have not had human contact in a while. So it's like.
Did she sort of see the funny side of it, or was she all like airport serious?
Oh, she was totally airport serious because like, I mean, everybody wears a mask, and then you go up to the point where like you give your license and your ticket, and there's a guy, and he has on he's got the blockage thing, like the glass thing. Then he's got the glass shield. Then he's got a mask.
Yeah. And
he says, "Pull down your mask," because he needs to check it against your ID.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah, I've actually I've thought that about buying alcohol because like I've bought alcohol through quarantine, right? And like I wear the mask, my sunglasses, and my hat into the store, and then they're like, "Can I see your ID?" And I'm like, "Does it really fucking matter?"
I was in 7-Eleven and again, like I had my hair up and my sunglasses. I felt like I was trying like illegally buy alcohol. Like she'd never know it was me.
I took a selfie of me while I'm at the airport and sent it to my family. And my sister commented, I think it was my sister, it's either my sister or my dad. And they were like, they would arrest you if it wasn't during COVID because you look like I look like a terrorist. Like I'm just like, it's all black. I have a black hat. I've got these huge sunglasses and this mask. And it's like you see like a little bit of white right here.
Well, that's our new reality, folks.
I know. And then we get to get dressed up when we do these. This is my mom's like, you brought makeup? I'm like, I brought makeup for the podcast because it's the one time I put makeup on.
Yeah. I know, thanks to live stream, podcasts aren't just audios anymore.
It's true. Which is good. Because at least I get to dress up a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Vixen, we had such a nice time chatting with you. We're gonna let you go now so you can get on with the rest of your day. But yeah, we love you and we miss you.
Love you. You can now talk about me behind my back.
That's our plan.
Only good things. Only good things. Segue with the good things.
All the good things. Otherwise, I'll know. Come and haunt you.
Oh, I love Vixen so much.
Oh my god. I'm telling you, I think her life is just so much fun. It's like so much fun all the time because like everything's like a game for her. It's delightful to watch her in action.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting to watch her build her career over the past 7 years. Because it's not like she had this burlesque class business. Like she built it all from the ground up.
Absolutely. And a little bit at a time too.
Yeah. Well, one of those, like, when she was talking about investments, I remember I've stayed at Vixen's place, and I remember she was like showing me the room that she used for classes, and she's like, to get the flooring in this room and to get this room set up, I literally spent the last $1,000 in my bank account. And she's like, I just did it, knowing that if I did it, it would come back to me tenfold, and it was the best thing I ever did. Because she's like, then Airbnb came calling, and then all the other things. But it goes back to kind of say, like, when you kind of take that leap of faith, the universe steps in and takes the other side of it.
And I think that, like, as artists, we always live on the edge to some degree. Like, we're always like, okay, we're forward thinking. You know, we're not looking for stability. We're willing to move around. We're willing to, like, create something that it might not work because, like, that's I feel like that's part of like being an artist, but like also an entrepreneur. Like I was chatting with someone who's going to be one of our guests in August, who is our first international interview. She's a burlesque artist out of Belgium.
Cool.
And she's like, well, what's your background? And I was like, oh, I did this, and then I did that, and I did that, and I did that, and then I did that. And a lot of it involved Julia, like pinups on tour and stuff like that, and because I was like, oh, well, Julia's the host, and like, and I was like, and then we did the Green Light District, like, and she's like, wow, you did a lot of things. And I'm like, I don't know, I guess I just like building things. Like I like playing because that's the area of creation.
Yeah, if I look at all the work that we've done over the last 7 years, it's overwhelming. But when you're doing it, you just do like the next logical step.
Right.
So it doesn't feel as overwhelming as it might feel. But, it's just nice to see your friends that you kind of, I call it baby Hollywood. Like Vixen and you were some of the first people I met when I moved to Hollywood. I was like, within months of moving to Hollywood, I met you guys. You
were very fresh when I met you.
Yeah. So it's always like, I feel like when I talk to my friends that I met during that time period, I'm like, we were just all at this point in our career where like nothing was happening, but we knew something was like, if we worked hard enough, if we kept going, if we just kept doing things, and it's like your baby Hollywood years. And the truth is the people who don't end up having a career usually are the people who bail, and the people who stay usually end up having a career because the people that you come up with want to support you, want to hire you, want to get you work. Like,
And they know you're reliable. They know you're creative. They know you'll do a good job for them. You're not, because a lot of hiring people is knowing that that person's going to show up and like actually do what you need them to do. And like, if you can hire a friend who you trust, it's great because you're like, sweet. Okay. I know you're cool.
Yeah. But you found some great stories for us this week, moving into fun things. So this first one is called Handkerchief Code, which I had never heard of before.
I had never heard of this either. And it's really funny because the way I came across this was somebody was asking a question on Haro, which is Help a Reporter Out, which is a site that like sources and reporters connect with each other. And they're always queries. And somebody was like, we need to interview someone for the Handkerchief Code. And I'm like, what is that? So I Googled it and it's, it's for the gays that are looking for like a casual hookup for the night. And if you're wearing jeans, like as in this amazing picture in front of me.
Yes.
I love that it's rainbow too. It's
I picked all the colors.
Yeah, it's so symbolic, it's so pride also. It's a way to signify what you're into. So you don't have to like, chat about it. It's like, okay, here's a color coded system. And if it's on the left, you're a top. And if it's on the right, you're a bottom, which,
apparently this guy's all over.
He's all over. He's a switch. And then the colors all mean something. And I have a list of like 10, but it goes like almost 20 deep. Like there are ones that are like very
specific.
And so the black one is SMM. There's 2 blues, not just one, but 2, which is the dark blue is anal sex and the light blue is oral sex. So it's like the front and the back, right?
Mm-hmm. That one seems pretty standard.
So the brown, they label as scat. And I was like, I had to click on the link on Wikipedia to double check that that's what I thought it was, which I did because I've only heard it used when people like reference a raccoon, which is like, you're into feces play. So,
okay.
It's right. And then green is a prostitute hustler, which I thought was interesting considering it's illegal. So I mean, well,
how are you going to prove?
Well, but like, if I guess like there's not a lot of undercover cops, like, busting the hustlers. But like, if you were to go to the club and there's a guy with a green, you'd be like, oh, that guy. It'd be very easy to pick out the illegal thing in the club, right? It's so true. Like, the gray is bondage. And then the orange is just overall everything. So that's
whatever
like,
you want.
Whatever you want. Purple is piercings. So I guess it's not so much what you're going to do, but what you have, right? It's like, I bring this to the table.
I have a Albert. Is it Prince Albert? Is that what
Prince Albert? Yeah, it's
I have a Prince Albert to bring to the table. Okay.
Exactly. Red is fisting. And then yellow, they classified as water sports, which once again, I had to click on the link on Wikipedia to get to the next page because I was like, what the fuck are
You're like, I think I know what this is.
Once again, I was like, it's urine. So,
okay. Yeah.
So, because I was like, is this people doing it like in a shower or like, a pool? Like, is it like, are we talking about location too, along with like props?
I mean, whatever makes them happy. It seems to me that, I guess it's good. You got to put it out there.
Yeah. So, my sister and I are screenwriters and we wrote a screenplay because with a scene in it that was based on her life where she went to a party where it was called a stoplight party and single people were green, taken people were red, and then people who were willing to like switch, have fun for the night and were in open relationships were yellow. But my sister, she didn't want to be single at that point in her life. So it was very disheartening to her.
Yeah.
it wasn't so much it was embarrassing, but she walked into a situation where everybody had red. She was the only person with green. There were like very few green. So it like heightened this fact that she was single. So like, it effectively communicates very quickly what you're looking for out of whatever situation you're in.
Yeah. It reminds me of those jelly bands that like middle schoolers used to wear that symbolize the same thing. I get maybe those middle schoolers got this from the gays. Like maybe that's where they got this from.
That would be about right, because this is from like Sex and the City, but do you remember when Samantha, when her hot young thing, when she was making him a movie star, and she's like, first you get the gays, then you get the teenagers, then you get like all of America.
Exactly.
So maybe like 5 years from now. Well, actually, I did read another article, which was people are now doing this for COVID too, which is your level of comfortability in social interactions. So like, you know, it's a stoplight party and being like, do not get near me, to being like, I'm okay if we do some interaction.
They have that on the dating apps now. They have your COVID dating preference as one of the questions on the app. Yeah, and
what are the drop downs? What does it say?
So the option, I don't remember exactly what they say, but the options are like virtual dates only, in person but distanced, whatever, you know, like these and like you'll get people that are like, well, are you scared to go out with me? And it's like, well, I don't want to go out with every single person right now because of COVID. So if I'm going to expose myself to somebody, I really do want it to be somebody that is like worth the risk of COVID, because like it's not worth it otherwise.
I agree. I've had this conversation a couple times with my mom in the last couple of weeks, and I believe that COVID has raised everybody's standards, or at least my standards, where it's like things that maybe I would have let slide more because I was like, oh, it's whatever, it's casual, it's like, you know, that's okay, whatever the situation is. And nothing bad, just like stuff like bad communication, you know, stuff that's like, you're like, I don't want to play that game. I'm done with that game. So it's like my eject button on like people I communicate with on whatever level has gotten shorter, you know, where I'm like, there's a person I follow on Instagram. I don't know her offhand, but she gives really good dating advice. I'm actually trying to get her on the show. And it's all like, she has books that are in meme forms. And, you know, one of the things she says is like, if you're in the relationship that you would try and talk your best friend out of, you know, that's the way you look at it. You know, if you were dating someone and I was like, Julia, what the fuck are you doing? Like, no, you deserve better. Then like, you're not supposed to be in that relationship.
It's so true. If you're dating somebody that you wouldn't tolerate for your friends, then you have to kind of wonder why you're doing it.
Right.
And I always say I have such good, fulfilling, deep friendships that when I'm in these things with these guys and it's like it's like they care. It's so obvious they don't care about me so much. I'm like, my friends care about me more than you do, and they're not sleeping with me. So like, this isn't gonna work.
Right. So
like, this is not how that works. I need nice, fulfilling relationships. We all deserve fulfilling relationships because it's like the key to happiness, they say, is our relationships.
Yeah. It's you want someone who's gonna mirror you in the best way possible. And if they're not,
or no one at all. If they're not, exactly.
And actually, that's true too, because like it's you're not going to settle for someone who's going to do things that are medically might risk your life, right? So it's like you're going to only potentially bring into your bubble, as we refer to in the Thomas family, like you have a bubble. You have this bubble of people that you're hanging out with, and like you're only letting in the best people into your bubble, the people that you can trust, the people that are not going to lie to you, you know, the people that actually mean what they say and tell the truth all the time and try and think of the bigger picture, you know. I posted a couple pictures on Facebook of being here, and I'm socially distancing from my family. Like we're always 6 feet apart. We do these weird dances. Like it's, and it just because like we got to,
Did you hug with a mask?
We haven't hugged. There's been no hugging.
No hugging. Oh, so weird.
Yeah. My mom accidentally and my mom lives in a different town of my sister, and like she accidentally hugged my sister in Tahoe, and she was like, I just let it slip, but like as of right now and I think that maybe we might hug like another week from now when we've hit the 2-week window.
Yeah.
Just because like you just want to be sure.
Yeah.
But it's like, we had a lot of dialogues about whether or not this was the right move to do or like not, because you want to see your family. It's just crazy. It's, but it is, in my opinion, making everybody's standards better. They're getting closer to the people that they actually are supposed to be. I know a lot of people who are thriving through this quarantine, and they're happier than they were 6 months ago.
I think I'm one of those people. I think while work slowed down a lot, I found other things in my life. And I think that's really important because I think I was just too focused on work for so long.
Including this podcast.
Exactly.
Like just getting together with the people we love the best, like Vixen.
And looking at sparkly things.
Yes, and looking at sparkly things.
Which brings us to our next article.
Okay, here are my notes because I have lots of notes when it comes to this one.
So yeah, go ahead.
This is from naturaldiamonds.com, which is like something that's selling diamonds in some way. And they did it. It's like a fun list, but I had a blast looking at it and the beautiful pictures of it. And it's the top 10 diamond movies. This is like the fun portion of it. Like, this is like the lighthearted portion of this podcast because it's just this is the Sex and the City portion of the podcast.
Yeah, it's the top 10 movies starring diamonds.
Yes.
So movies starring. Yes, starring.
And I actually had a lot of fun with my mom and my aunt having them guess them this morning. So, and they did pretty good. I think they got about 8 out of the 10. So, Marie Antoinette was the first one, the movie with Kirsten Dunst. And in that movie, what you'll find is a lot of the newer movies, or even some of the older movies, they would make a piece of jewelry as a promotional thing in tie-in with the movie and then try and sell it to like a sheik or someone who had a ton of money, or they put it in the vault and then they would bring it out later, like, if you've seen Ocean's 8, which is one of the movies on the list, they go into the Cartier vault, which is awesome. Like, and they show you what it's like when they bring the jewelry out. But Marie Antoinette, which was with Kirsten Dunst, she wears like a mixture of like vintage jewelry and like she's wearing $4 million worth of jewelry while she's doing the movie.
Oh, not awesome. Intimidating at all.
No. And like some movies, like Gentleman Prefers Blondes, for anyone who's watching the actual like video version of this podcast, we have that picture up right now. That was all costume jewelry. So even though it was about diamonds, they only used costume jewelry because it was like they didn't have any tie-ins whatsoever. But like Moulin Rouge, they worked with an Australian jeweler named Canturia, and they created what was called the Satine, which was the character in that movie. And it was a 134 carat necklace that was worth $5 million.
Wow.
I know, right? Just tie-in for the movie.
Like, well, I mean, if you can afford that, good on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of my favorite ones was Breakfast at Tiffany's. So they, which came, had the catchphrase, "Nothing ever bad happens at Tiffany's." For anyone who lived in New York as a girl, I feel like you would just like walk over and look at it and pretend to be,
like walk past the window, pretend to be Audrey Hepburn.
Exactly. So they made a necklace that I believe was not in the movie, but was actually used like for a photo shoot. And it was 128.45 carat canary diamond necklace. And Audrey Hepburn wore it in a, like, the photo shoot for it. And Lady Gaga, because apparently it went in their vault, Lady Gaga wore it to the Oscars in 2019.
Well, there you go.
I thought that was like a lot of fun. That
is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Another one of my favorites. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, no. I know. Another one of my favorites was High Society, which is a musical version of, what is it, the Philadelphia Experiment? My mom and Ann in the other room are listening to this, and they're probably going to be like, it's this movie, because we used to watch it all the time. But High Society with Grace Kelly, she wore her own engagement ring because she was supposed to be like a rich high society, and she's like, I have a $10 million ring.
I can just wear this.
So 10 carats, which is a big ring.
That's a massive ring. It's not 10 million, but it's up there.
It's up there, but it's also like in weight. Like a 10 carat diamond is a heavy diamond to walk around as an engagement ring.
I've always had this philosophy about engagement rings that, like, if you get a big engagement ring, don't expect me to wear it. Like, I'll wear it for the year we're engaged, but then I just want a basic band, because, like, when I was engaged, I, like, doing yoga was hard with my ring, because my ring was one that, like, stuck out a lot, and I, like, couldn't do certain things, and I was like, I was almost like, I can't wait for the wedding band so I can take this engagement ring off.
Throw that, like, giant diamond aside.
Well, it's nice to have for when you, like, go places that you're like, I want to have, but, like, I want to wear icing, as they said in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. But it's not super practical for everyday life. So, and, I've never had a 10 carat ring on my finger, so I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. But I guess if you're the Princess of Monaco, you would need to wear a ring like that.
Right. Speaking of other badass women in history, you found a really cool person this week.
I did. There was a meme about this person, which is how I found this. It's,
so random.
The nice thing about all the social unrest that we're going through is that, like, I'm learning a lot in the process. So this is Susanna Medora Salter, who was born in Kansas in 1887, and she grew up in, like, a Quaker village. And she ended up becoming the first female mayor in the United States. Now, the funny thing about her is that it was, like, supposed to be a joke. So this woman was like a hardy frontier woman. This is Kansas in the 1800s, like right after the Civil War, right? Because the Civil War was 80, around there. So, like, she had already had 2 kids, and she was 27, and that town, because the free-thinking towns were kind of on the edges, right? So they decided that they were going to, the women's Christian temperance movement, which helped, get women's suffrage. So they got women the right to vote. But there were very few women in the town. There were like 20 women in the town. So there was this other 20 group of people who were males, and they were not cool with the idea of women voting. They were like, that's not cool. It's a men only, job. Like, they should not be involved in any way. So what they did was they found this woman, Susanna, and because she was in the administration of the women's temperance movement, and they put her name on the ballot in the town. So, but they didn't tell her. So the day of, because for some reason you could do this was like the Wild West in like 1800. So then when the printed ballots came, the day of voting for these 500 people in this town, it was like a guy versus a girl. And the politicians actually had to go down, and they had to ask her, are you okay being the mayor if you win? And she's like, sure. Okay. I never thought to be the mayor. I'm a housewife, but okay. So then, the people, these guys who had done this practical joke, they thought only the women in town were going to vote for the woman. and it ended up like 2/3 of the town voted for her. So she became the first female mayor because she was like, well, I think I have to do it now because yeah. And she apparently was really classy about it. Like she didn't hold, because the 5 of the guys that were of these 20 men that were trying to play this practical joke ended up getting elected also. So she had to work with them, the city council. And she was like, I'm a civil servant. I'm here to help you. Like,
do you think that the guy she was running against was just so awful that people were so grateful to have another option? They didn't care.
I mean, maybe like, you know, I mean,
it does seem odd.
It's funny because like her husband went down early in the day to vote and he was like, what's going on? And then she was going to vote later in the day because it was like a big deal. And she went and voted with her parents, like, you know, because it's like women are voting for the first time.
Yeah.
And like but the husband comes home and he's like, you're on the ballot. Like, you know, can you imagine having that conversation with your husband?
Yeah, right. Well, I didn't put myself on the ballot.
Right. This is like the weirdest thing the universe has ever thrown at me. Like, can you imagine if that happened to you? If I walked in and I was like, hey, Julia, guess what? Like, you're now running for president. Like,
right. It's amazing. So what year was this? It was 1887?
1887. I'm not quite sure from my notes if 1887 is when she was born.
Yeah, it says it's right here. Yeah, 1887 was the official election notice.
Okay, yes, that was okay. Yeah.
So that's insane. That's insane. 1887.
Yeah, and she
was our first female man. That's good for her.
Right? And like she played it classy. That's what I really like about it. Like the fact that she didn't hold it against the people. You know, it's like a Nelson Mandela move where like, you know, he could have, you know, that was one of the things that I learned from the Nelson Mandela movie was that, you know, when he got out of jail, they were like, we're going to do retribution. And he's like, no, we're not at all. We're going to be cool with this. And the other thing they did with it was my dad told me this, so I might not have this 100% accurate, but they televised it and you could go and admit any atrocity you did during apartheid and you would be exonerated, but you had to go on television and say that you did it. So you would go on and you'd be like, yeah, I murdered this person and this year I did this and this and this. And if you did that, they were never going to come after you because they wanted it to, and they just wanted it to get out
to end.
They didn't want it to be about shame. You know, they didn't want it to be that like the people who had done bad would feel bad moving forward because it was all about unifying. I'm getting goosebumps just hearing it. It's about unifying the country, you know, it's about coming together to make us the best country ever. Well, that the best country ever, which is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, South Africa definitely has its issues.
Yeah.
But, they've come a very long way. And they still are, you know, it's interesting. They're a nation that has kind of, I was going to say similar. It's different racial tensions to our nation, but a similar kind of us versus them mindset in a lot of ways, which doesn't do anybody any good to think us versus them. And I think hopefully as younger generations come up and they're more compassionate and all this stuff, we'll see more unifying. I hope we see it in our country. I mean, you know,
I think we are right now, and it's I think we're shifting into that energy, and this is just like the growing pains of getting to that energy. Yeah. You know, one of the things, and we're not going to get deep into the politics here, but like one of the things that I've had in conversations in regards to like voting in the fall, and everybody should vote if they want to have a voice, is that like you got to pick politicians who really represent the mindset you're in right now. Because one of the things overall I find is that I listen to somebody and I'm like, that's such an outdated philosophy compared to where we are now. You know, maybe that was cool at a certain point, but it's not now. So like, let's pick someone who really is going in the direction where we want to go. Like, you know, we want a better future, right? I know it's hokey, but it's true. You know, we want where we get better and we are more unified and we take care of each other and there's not pain and hurt and us versus them. It's that we're more than we were, you know?
Yeah. And bringing people together, hopefully with the art of burlesque too.
Exactly.
Burlesque shows have no division except for prudes and non-prudes.
Yeah, and, you know, it's yes, and even that, you got to remember that somebody who's more prudish, you know,
I mean, I always laugh when somebody walks out of a show because I'm like, you're the one who walked into a burlesque show.
Yeah, yeah,
you walk out of it.
It's
like,
true.
Okay.
I think you have to be comfortable with whoever you are and not really worry so much about other people's uncomfortability, because you just have to be the version of you. You don't have to jam it down somebody's throat, but it's like, you just, you know, it's like Vixen said earlier, just you do the best version of you, you know, as she taught her burlesque class, which I thought her burlesque class sounded amazing.
I've seen her burlesque class in action because I've gone on tour with Vixen and I've helped her do her show and I've helped her do her classes. And I've seen her classes in action. And it's sweet. There's women that come in there so shy and so timid and they leave like with just a completely different aura, you know?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
They get that permission slip to feel better about themselves. I remember at one point when Pinups on Tour was pretty early, Julia and I did these pinup photo shoots. And we did one for a bunch of different holidays. So it was like Valentine's Day, and we had a giant heart. And then there was like Christmas, and we had a Christmas box. And we didn't actually get that many performers. We got more normal people that like to dress up in one way or another. And that was like kind of the fun of it, was like getting them to do the pinup. Like,
yeah, and letting them feel fabulous and beautiful and amazing. And images from it and all that good stuff.
It's like when you do a makeover.
Yeah. Well, if you guys want to check out our videos that include Vixen or any of our other burlesque videos, you can do that on our website, WTTburlesque.com. Of course, you can find us on all the socials at WTTBurley, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us Better Than Sex, where every week we try to figure out what's better than sex.
Yeah, we're not doing a great job at it though, because
we have interesting shit to talk about. That's the main thing.
We do. We have great shit. We have great shit, and we get to pimp our friends. And
exactly.
Like people, like that's the fun of it. Like, just, you know, our friends are amazing. Hear an interview, and then you'll agree.
So check them out. Check out our past episodes. Rate us, review us, do all the things, and we will be back soon with another episode for you guys.
Bye.
Bye.